One of the main problems with this film is that it is not a film. So guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon who talks the most about crossovers on YouTube, and you're on my channel. And finally we had the Baki vs Kengan Ashura film, two animes that I really like, and which had a crossover made by Netflix, which doesn't exist in the manga, but which is canonical for both universes. In fact, this crossover is a spiritual continuation of a manga in which Doppo Orochi goes to the Kengan Ashura universe, and fights against Paing's father, and this fight is referenced in the animation. And let's get straight to the point. I thought the film was fun. We had a lot of fanservice, fun fights, and unusual situations, but overall, I felt like it was something that had enormous potential, but was wasted, primarily because of the format. Guys, let's be serious. Even though Netflix is promoting this crossover as a film, in practice it's just an hour-long special episode, an OVA, or something equivalent, and that's not even my opinion, it's a fact, already that for a film to be considered a feature film, it needs to be at least 70 minutes long including the credits, so it really isn't a film, and I'm not even complaining about the fact that the publicity is wrong, as this metric used by cinema doesn't even make sense for the streaming. It would be so much better if this crossover had the length of an animated film, at least 90 minutes, so that we could have more fights between other characters. Even though the 3 fights were cool, we all wanted to see, for example, Oliva fighting Julius Reinhold, and knowing which of the two has the greatest physical strength, it would be an incredible battle, but we don't have that fight because we don't have time. It would be incredible to see other characters from both universes in action, but the most we have is them commenting on the fights, and even the special appearances, like Yujiro or Pick, only serve to provide fanservice. And I know that obviously it wouldn't be possible for everyone to fight, but the film would be much cooler if it had at least 2 more fights, something that I think would be totally possible if the film had been longer. Another thing I didn't like were the characters that Kengan Ashura and Baki's animation style, with the exception of some characters like the Dr. Hanafusa. Most of them didn't look good, but it wasn't a matter of not matching, since in the opening, the world is very well done, with beautiful visuals, so the problem is not the visual style, but the final quality of the animation, which doesn't have much budget, and that was to be expected, since even though I really like Baki, it's an anime that leaves a lot to be desired in terms of animation quality. Regarding the fights, I found them fun. It's really cool to see the characters facing each other and using their techniques, but I found the fights not very elaborate, especially the first one, which basically boiled down to Paing doing his famous headbutts, while Hanayama punched, and the fight practically came down to that. And I'm not even complaining about the fight being simple. We had great fights in Baki that were simple, like Oliva's fight against Shoban, which also had simple strikes, but was much better prepared and scripted, providing much more excitement. And I'm comparing it to Baki's fights, because the crossover aims to take place in Baki's universe, and follow Baki's fighting style. It can't be compared with Kengan Ashura's fights, which are much more complex, involve much more techniques, and they are full of twists and turns. And on the other hand, Baki fights are much more focused on brute force and impact, than on techniques. But even following this model of Baki fights, I think the fights could have been much better. Some people complained about the crossover not having a defined winner, as the tiebreaker fight was interrupted, and based on the character's level, Baki should have won easily, as the current Baki in the anime is at a level of strength, which he achieved, even really hurting Yujiro Hanma, so without a doubt we can define that Baki is much stronger than Ohma, but I understand this logic of crossovers. Netflix didn't want to displease fans of either side, and I understand that. In crossovers you need to make some equivalences that sometimes don't make much sense. But in the name of fun you need to balance things, so for me this is actually a positive point of the film. And for those of you who will say in the comments that you love the crossover and that I'm talking nonsense in the comments, firstly, I'm happy that you had fun, and I have a question for you. Everything I said in this video, doesn't it make sense? Or are you getting carried away by the fanservice, and not seeing the flaws? I'm a big fan of Baki and Kengan, and as a fan I want both to have the best quality possible, and this crossover, although it was fun, could have been much better. And the film ends with the cue for a possible sequel. Hopefully in the next crossovers Netflix will be able to do something a little more complete and more elaborate. But what about you? Do you agree with me? Leave it in the comments, and if you liked the video, subscribe to follow the next content. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.